Well, good afternoon, y'all. It's Mary. It is Sunday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, if I've done my math right, and also set my clocks right, and all of those other things. So I appreciate you joining me. Give me 2 seconds so I can refresh my screen and make sure I'm transmitting. And everybody keep your fingers crossed that Mr. Facebook does us right today. Hey, Ann. Hey, Kathy. How are y'all tonight? I appreciate you joining me. I will try to pay enough attention to know if Facebook drops us off, and if it does, just give me half a second and I'll get back on just as quick as I can. Alrighty, so tonight we are going to make this card. This is what I finally came up with. Hey, Paula and Christina, appreciate you guys joining me. Once again, my computer is off to the side quite a ways, actually, because of the smallness of my setup here. So if I don't see a comment or call out to you, just know it's because I've missed it as it scrolled down the comments. All right, so this morning's sneak peek was me giving myself an out. Hey, Barbara and Karen and Connie, appreciate y'all joining me. I was giving myself an out because when I went to bed last night, I had this front done. I didn't have the sentiment or anything else on it. I just had the trees in there, and I truly didn't know what to do with it next. So I was actually giving myself the opportunity to say, nope, not going to even do that this week and do something different. But I was able to salvage it, I think. Hey, Jean. Hey, Denise. Appreciate you joining. I think I salvaged it. This uses the card front builder thinlits, the trees in it. I love these little die cuts for the trees. And the sentiment is from Christmas Quilt. And of course I used the softly falling teeth. Don't know why I said of course, because there is no of course. This is the inside, some more of the inlaid paper. This is Christmas Around the World, and some very vanilla trees as well. And then I have done a similar treatment on the front of the envelope. So with these glued on here on the front, thank you, Karen, you might want to consider this going as a non-mailed card, perhaps in a gift box. Although, actually, if you get the glue on good enough, I actually do believe it would go through the machine without a problem. And then I put some more on the back. So let us go ahead and get started. I hope you did all get your clocks done right. You know, I borked that on my post this morning, and that is in fact exactly how I set my clocks. Totally wrong. So it was pretty confusing this morning. I got up and everything was wonky. All right, so here's the card cuts. These will be on my blog post tomorrow, so you don't need to worry about it. Hey, Nyoka, appreciate you joining, and I'm glad you got me live as well. So we'll have a very vanilla envelope. I have 2 pieces of very vanilla for the card front and the inner liner. And these are at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 each. A couple of real red mats, 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then a thick, very vanilla cardstock base. This is 4 1/4 by 11, scored and folded at 5 1/2 inches. So we're going to set that aside, set the mats aside, and we will start with our card front. Let me give this a quick sand. For those of you who wonder about my sanding block, this is a Jim Holtz Ideology block. I got it off of Amazon. I think it's $5 or $6. And it's pretty handy to have around. Even with the sharpest blades, Eddie Trimmer's going to occasionally leave some edges, and so it's nice to be able to sand them smooth. All right, so I'm going to pull Mr. Big Shot up. Hey, Ginger, how are you tonight? We're going to do Mr. Big Shot here today, live and in person, just because why not? All right, so we're going to be doing die cuts with our thinlits up here that I stuck too far out of the way. And if you'll see, what I've done is I've actually done each of the die cuts of the trees twice. So first we do these top ones, and then I'm going to insert some trees that I've already cut from some Christmas Around the World card DSP, and I'm going to stick those in and use some tape on the back, and then we'll cut the second set. So here we go. Here we go. Hey, Dawn. Ah, How are ya? Donna and Mary and Karen, appreciate y'all joining me. All right. Y'all scream at the top of your comment blocks if Facebook drops us, would ya? All right, so gonna put one set right about there, and the single will be right about there or so. It's an art, not a science. All right. Okay. Brush that off. And then we're going to push these out and save them because I actually need these little very vanilla ones for later in the card. Waste not, want not. All right. Hey Ginger, yes, you do need this set before it goes away. If there was nothing else in the set that was cool besides these little trees, it would be worth having. All right, we'll set those aside. And then we're going to put Mr. Big Shot aside. I'm going to do that a couple of times. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so first we're going to build our card front. Like I said, I have already cut out a couple of around the world trees. And I'm going to stick those in just like that, and you're going to see how that looks. All right. Now I'm going to flip this over. They're going to fall out, but that's okay because they go right back in. Real easy peasy. Hey Amy, glad you could make it. Are you getting all ready to go to on stage? If you got everything done you need to do, I hope. I've been making big cards like a big dog today. Today was the only day I had because I worked yesterday. Okay, so all I'm doing here is I'm just putting some Scotch tape on the back of the card to hold these die cuts in place because I'm going to cut again, and as you can see I'm going to put the dies up inside the original cuts. So you kind of want them to hold still. All right, back to Mr. Big Shot. Did it end? No. What did what end? How about that? If your question is, did the Carols of Christmas end? Nope, it's still in the holiday catalog until the beginning of January, the 4th or so, when it goes unlive. If you're talking about on stage, nope, it starts next week on Thursday. Okay, so now all I'm doing is I'm putting the same dies back in place, and this time I would like to cut out a couple of trees. And here's a little trick. So you remember I said I was just having a heck of a time making this technique that I had seen work. And part of it is because this is such a detailed die. So what you want, here's the trick, is you don't want to overlap any of these detailed parts. All right, you want to go straight up into the solid, and you want to make sure that you've got space around there. Otherwise what happens is you've got little tiny fiddly pieces that you have to do something with, and that's just, well, if you guys thought doing the eclipse method with the happy birthday thinlet was hard last week, I promise we don't want to have to do the result of that. I can't tell you how many card fronts I made where I just worked the heck out of that. Alright, so I'm just running this back through. Like so. I'll pick this up and get this out of the way for just a second. Thank you, Mary. Ah! That horrible noise you just heard was me dropping my Big Shot. Well, no, not the Big Shot, just the platforms. Alright, so now pull up our card front again and carefully get our dies out like so. About time for a new plate. All right, here we go. So tonight's going to be a late night. We are switching to nights for Monday and Tuesday, which means that I have to go to work at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, and I'll probably get home about 2 or 3 on Tuesday morning, and then repeat that Tuesday night to Wednesday, and then I'll head to onstage sometime after I get a little bit of sleep on Wednesday morning. So, yeah, gonna be kind of a, one of those weeks where I'm not real sure if I'm coming or going. Yes, ma'am, it is still in good shape. It wasn't the actual big shot that I dropped. I just tipped it and the platforms fell out and made a huge god-awful noise. Okay, so I have now already pre-cut, because how many times can you watch me cut something? Some garden green trees, like that. A single and a double, like so. And I'm going to turn this over before I mess with it, because it's going to fall out, just like that. I'm going to put those back in. Alright, and then I'm going to use more tape to hold them in place. Nyoka, I am a support contractor for the military, yes. And we are working on a test out here. And unfortunately, we have some test points that have to be gathered at night. My least favorite time to do anything related to work. Actually, I've about reached the point, y'all, where I just flat don't want to wake up to an alarm clock, and I don't want anybody telling me I have to go to work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because that is just, it's horrible. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. It's part of why I retired from the military, so I wouldn't have to do it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss this card front with my softly falling teeth. Remember, on these, the printed side is the embossing side. So if I wanted to deboss, I would flip it like that. But I do want to emboss. And I take out the thin die adapter. And this is a regular teeth, so I'm going to use both cutting plates. And go ahead and stick this in here. And we're almost done with the big shot, I think, so. No, we're going to have one more go. Sorry, I lied. I lied. And I don't tell a whole lot of folks that I am prior military, and I don't tell a whole lot of folks what I do now. So that's why I only mention it when I'm on with y'all who are my friends. Alright, and let's put Mr. Big Shot away one more time. Well, you know what, Paula? I'm kind of thinking I'm going to call it a day next summer, I think. Now, I have said that we have a big test coming up in February through April that I am the lead for. So I will probably do that just because it goes against the grain to quit and leave folks in the lurch, which is what it would be. But every single year since I started working for this job in 2007, I've said after fill in the blank test, I'm going to retire, and I'm still here. All right. So you can see how pretty that looks with the embossing. Let's go ahead and put it on its real red mat with some festive fusing. Oh, okay. And now you're going to get to watch me. Yes, ma'am. Please keep that just between you guys. And Mary, this was the softly falling teeth, the one that looks like snow. Thank you, Nyoka. I appreciate it. All right, and then I've got this little doohickey here. We're going to put him in right like that. Hey, Linda. Yes, I'm live. Hopefully you're finding us. All right, let's get that going. Let's go. Did I put it on backwards? No. You know, Fast Fuse is such a good adhesive. If it just wouldn't be so stinking persnickety all the time. All right, there we go. I don't know why this was bamboozling me so much last night. Maybe because I was tired. I don't know. But good Lord, I just sat here. I literally just sat here and stared at it like, I got nothing. I don't even know what to do with it. All right, so let us set that aside for 1/2 second. And then I'm going to find a likely strip. This looks like about right. Oh, it's perfect. We'll go ahead and get our sentiment all ready. And as I said before, this is from the Christmas Quilt stamp set. Got my stamps all discombobulated here, but that's okay. I know where they're supposed to go. It's like a little puzzle. A little puzzle. Hey, Mary. Yeah, the trick with Fast Fuse is pull down and then make a check mark away like you were making a check mark. Down and a check mark. And that will, I think that will help you. I am not even going to tell you that that will fix all of the problems, but it will certainly assist you in that. Here's a question, y'all. How is it possible I have what appears to be a Finn hair when he is not here? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Hang on a second. I'm going to respond to somebody on Facebook so they can find us, okay? Just 1 minute. All right. Thank you, Ginger. I appreciate that. All right. So, and you're welcome. It was truly my honor. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm just going to stamp piece on a strip of very vanilla, like so. And I'm going to use my little snips and I'm going to bannerize it. Like so. Bannerize, that's just a verb I made up. And I'm going to leave this end open because what I did and will do again is I'll do a dry fit and determine where I want to cut this off so that I have it as long as I need but not longer than I need. And then I'm going to edge it with my green Stampin' Write marker. So now let's go ahead and make our little tree embellishment. And for that, I'm going to use one piece of the cutout Very Vanilla and another piece of Around the World, Christmas Around the World. And before I adhere those together, I am going to... Thank you, Mary. That's sweet that it's worth setting a timer for you. I do appreciate that very much. I like knowing y'all enjoy these little whatever you want to call them. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm fixing to frost my tree because I like frosty trees. And what I'm going to use my fine tip liquid glue and I'm just rubbing the glue all over, but I am going to get a piece of paper that I pre-folded ever so professionally, and I'm just getting this glue all over my die cut. Now, the fine tip liquid glue, you guys don't see me use it very often, and I will tell you why. It's very good glue. It is. It works well, lasts a long time, has good adhesion. But for me, it takes a little too long to dry and to hold something that I am trying to glue in place. Now, for this particular kind of an application where I want it to use with the Stampin' Glitter, taking a little too long to dry is perfect, right? Because it gives me time to make sure I've got glue all over my die cut. If y'all are saying anything to me, I'm not seeing it because I'm really concentrating so hard. Okay, that should be just about right. Always be sure to close this back up. No, I didn't leave it at home, but I don't like getting this stuff on it because then I need to jump up and clean it off, and I don't want to do that in the middle of my video. All right, I did leave my silicone craft sheet at home, which I would use. Okay, so now I'm just going to pick this up with my tweezers, and I am using Dazzling Diamond Stampin' Glitter and just kind of putting it all over. Oh, how pretty is that? All right, leave that like that. Put away my handy craft sheet and get the glitter out of the way. So if y'all haven't used this, this glitter will go everywhere like Florida beach sand, only worse. Alrighty. Thank you, Jean, that's sweet. My husband, when I'm at home, my husband has to occupy himself during this time too, usually locked in the bedroom so that the TV isn't blaring. Usually, however, not with the dog because he wants to be with his mom. Okay, so that is busy drying, and now I'm going to take my white Tombow glue, my actual glue of choice. I've heard people say if they were stuck on a desert island, the only adhesive they would need would be their white liquid glue, and I think they could be right. It's pretty darn good. I'm just going to put it, you saw I left it, this edge is pretty well clear of glue because I'm going to have it stick out. And so the reason I did this to start with was because this was kind of flimsy and I wanted it to have a little heft. Okay, Karen, hang on just a second. I wanted it to have a little heft, so I put it on, and when I put it on, I intended to have it line up perfectly, just so it would be thicker. But then I got it like that. Can you see the difference where it's got kind of a shadow? And all of a sudden, it actually looked like snow. And I thought, well, there's a happy accident. As you can tell, y'all, this card is one that kind of came together on the fly. All right, Karen, so the difference between what I said and this is the silicone mat from Stampin' Up, and it's really, really good for using under photopolymer stamps and anything else where you need a little bit of give. My craft sheet is something that is not a Stampin' Up product. It's something I've had for a long time from when I started stamping, back in 2007 or 9, I guess it was 2009, and it's Ranger, I think, and it's about this big, and it's real, real thin. There's no give to it at all. It's like paper, only it's kind of a silicone. And so what I did is I cut it into fourths so I'd have a little work surface that I didn't care if I got ink on, I didn't care if I got glue on. It washes off really good, and it's really quite handy. But that, in fact, I did leave at the house. Because, you know, it weighs absolutely nothing, takes up zero space, so of course I didn't bring it because that would be crazy. All right, so now I'm going to do a quick dry fit, and I like my sentiment to overlap the edge a little bit. There's my card base, so this is how it's going to look, and it will go on the card base like so. So I know I'm going to put my sentiment about there, and then I'm going to put my tree about there, which means I'm going to cut my sentiment right about there. I'll just mark that a little bit, and then I'm just going to cut this straight across, up like that. All right. Make sure it's still what I want. Yep. And then I'm going to take my Stampin' Right marker. You're welcome, Karen. This is my Garden Green Stampin' Right marker. I'm going to get this out the way before I have a mess. And I'm going to edge my my sentiment. And I kind of like to do this. To be honest, I don't always remember to do it to every single die cut. But this is a good way to define something like a sentiment that's on top of a similar color. So very vanilla over very vanilla, it would disappear a little bit. Instead of putting a matte, I just take my marker and I give it some definition. You do have to be a little careful because sometimes the fibers of the paper will absorb this marker and it won't dry instantly. And then if you put your finger in it and then touch your sentiment, guess what? You have an opportunity for a rhinestone or some other embellishment. All right, so we got that. Set that down for a second. All right. Now, I'm going to pop that on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'll put a couple of larger ones on. And then I'm going to put a couple of mini ones on. I'm so glad we have mini dimensionals now. I don't know why all of a sudden I started talking like that. That's weird. Okay. Okay, here we go. Get that going. Get going, get going, get going. All right. Yes, Karen, I can imagine that it could be a fiasco with the marker. It can get away from you. And Jean, yes ma'am, my favorite tool ever. Alright, so I'm just going to set that like so. That's got a little bit of overlap off of there. And then I'm going to put another couple of little dimensionals on my tree up near the top and one at the bottom. Actually, I'm going to put two at the bottom. I'm just going to go crazy and put two at the bottom. There we go. And take off those covers. Oh, good, Jean. I'm glad you like it enough to case it. That makes me feel good, especially considering that yesterday at this time, or 8 o'clock, it was kind of a hot mess. Okay, so now I have dimensionals on the top and the bottom, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue on the sentiment to hold my tree. And then I'm going to pick it back up because I almost borked that, because I almost forgot my gold thread. Must have gold thread. So I'm just going to wind some loops around. Actually, I'll just use those dimensionals right there like that. And I really only want it on the outside of my tree. By the outside, I mean away from the sentiment. Were you able to see that? And you can see what I'm doing here, I hope. I am just winding this around on the dimensionals that I've already put on the tree. And I'm keeping the other side behind the tree. Okay, so it's really only going to be, there's really only thread showing on one side of the tree. Like that. Okay, once again, if you're saying anything, I'm not seeing it, I'm sorry. Because I gotta hold my mouth just right and pay attention. Okay, I think that's enough. We'll give that a snipper right to there. And there we have some loops. And my liquid glue is still fine. And so there we go. Alright, to finish off the card front, I'm going to use some metallic enamel shapes. I'm using gold. You could absolutely use silver if you like it. But I like the gold with the green and the red, so that's what I got. Alright, and I'm just going to put one on the top of my tree, because if it's frosty, I'm pretty sure it's decorated with a star. And then I'm going to put one on my sentiment, like so. Hi, Julie. I see you joined us. I'm glad you're able to make it. And then I'll stick one up here. like that. Whoa! Easy, Mare. Dang. Getting a little excited. Okay, and there's the card front, which I'm going to set aside, and then I'm going to make the inner liner. Here's a reminder of what it looks like. Oh, thank you, Ginger. That's very sweet. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Nyoka. All right, and here's what our inside is going to look like. So you can see I'm going to cut another set of the double trees in there, which means, yes, it's time for a reappearance of Mr. Big Shot. Whenever I say Mr. Big Shot, I get that song in my head. Mr. Big Shot, cut me some dice. And aren't you glad I don't sing for a living? All right. Alrighty. So I think I mentioned I have made approximately 6 cards today, which is possibly a personal record. As I get ready for on stage. I am very excited about on stage. Cannot hardly wait. Chopping onions and browning stew meat for vegetable beef stew. Okay, I'm in room 130 at the Desert Inn. You are welcome to bring me some, Miss Julie. All right, so I'm going to cut this down a little bit low, but not too low, and kind of in the middle. Alright. And then he can go away. Truly are done with him now. Oh, there's my Allen wrench. Oh, you booger, booger, booger. Alright, let me see if I can use the other side. Yep, we're going to use the other side. I think that'll work. Nope, that won't work. Well, you know, let's see if I can get that off the rubber. Yep, there it comes. Time to replace the cutting mats. When it starts making a mess on your cardstock, it's time to replace your cutting mats. Alright, so let's push this out and hang on to them in case I need it again. I think I've got enough, but you never know, so don't ever get rid of anything until you're done with your card, people. Unless you like digging out of the garbage, which I'm not gonna lie, I've done. Alright, so now this is gonna go in like so. So we'll just turn it over. I know. 350 for soup and pie, Julie? Good Lord. And I wish you were going on stage too. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, you guys, you know what I did the other day? So excited. I registered for the cruise. Doo-doo! It's official. It's official. I am so excited. We're going to fly out July 19th. And then we get on the cruise ship on the 20th of July of next year. So I don't know whether I'll be going to that as a retiree or as an employed person taking leave. There's no telling. All right, so now all I'm doing is taking one of the very vanilla die cuts from where I've cut a hole in the past, and I'm going to use a little bit of the liquid glue and just kind of gently put it across there like so. Okay. And I think we'll put it right there. Now you see what I did? I got glue on my cardstock. So here's a trick. If you get glue on your cardstock, leave it alone. Don't screw around with it right away. Let it get dry and then come back with your rubber eraser. And I truly don't know why we don't carry these anymore, but get you a rubber eraser. If you get it from Amazon or Michael's or Joann's, have a rubber eraser with you. It's the best thing since sliced bread for crafters, unless you are one of those people that never ever gets adhesive where you don't want it. And if that's the case, then man, I'm envious. And then we're gonna put this on a real red matte. Those trees look kind of weird with nutcrackers on them, don't they? Like so. Do I always take all of my tools? Sue, no, I don't. I take a sampling of my tools when I have to fly. When I'm limited by suitcases, then I have to think about what I brought. So in this case, I brought a few things, like I brought Lovely as a Tree, I brought some background stamps, and then I brought everything I had from the holiday catalog. And I might have actually added a few things from the holiday catalog since I got here. And then I bring a sampling of cardstock and papers and embellishments and those kinds of things. And my Big Shot, of course. Now, when I get to drive to a trip, there's no holds barred. I bring it all. I mean, literally, I bring it all. I pick up my Stamp & Storage ink pad holder and I put it in the car. I bought the new, I don't know if you've seen them at Stamp & Storage. They're the boxes that have the hanging folders that are 12 by 12. So, okay, first off, finding 12 by 12 hanging folders is nigh on impossible. But what's cool is that means you can put all of your 12 by 12 cardstock in there, or of course you could do 8.5 by 11. So I bought 2 of those cubes and extra folders so I can bring a sampling of every color of cardstock and a sampling of all of my 12 by 12, hey Jacqueline, of all of my 12 by 12 papers, and then envelopes and adhesives and all of those other things. Ink pad holder. Oh yes, ma'am. I have the large combo holder that holds ink pads, refills, and markers. And it's large enough it holds all of the entire set. So that was one of the first Stamp & Storage things I bought. And so that it's kind of funny because my husband, who is a woodworker, was like, Mare, I'll just make you one of those. I'm sure I can do it for much cheaper. And I said, okay, well, I want it like in this lifetime. And so I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And folks, I don't really think you could make it for cheaper than they sell them. I really don't. Because even when it showed up, he was impressed. It is extremely solid workmanship. It's all real wood. There's no press wood in it. It's just, they're very, very well made. You really can't go wrong with any Stamp & Storage product. Okay, so that has now gone into my thick very vanilla card base. And now I'm going to pull out my front again and pop it on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. Yeah, so that was the funny thing, Mary, is I just went straight up and bought all of them. But I also don't have any inks that aren't Stampin' Up. If I had more inks than were Stampin' Up, I would be out as well. But I don't have anything that isn't Stampin' Up that I use anymore. So fortunately, oh, and I just bought the new Stampin' Blends holder. It's sitting at the house waiting for me when I get home in 2 weeks. So I'm excited about that. Because right now I've got them in a baggie, and while that's working, you know, it's really not the best for long-term use. Yes, ma'am, Stampin' Storage is fabulous. Where am I going on my cruise? I'm going to Alaska, courtesy of Stampin' Up. It's very awesome. I'm very excited. This is my first incentive trip that I have earned since I came on with the company. I very much hope it's not my last one, because I have a feeling, I have a sneaking suspicion that once I've been on a cruise, I'm going to want to go on another one. And the one in 2019 is to the Greek Isles. So I feel pretty confident I'm going to want to go on that. So I'm going to have to earn it. And there we go. One each Christmas card. So let's very quickly make our card front, our envelope, because you know what I mean. What I say. What do I say, people? No naked envelopes. So I'm just going to attach with some liquid glue a Christmas Around the World plaid tree. A lot of plaid trees in the world, I'm pretty sure. And since this is on the front of an envelope, especially if you have any intention of mailing it, you do want to be sure that you get glue on all the little fiddly parts there. And we'll just do like so. And then I have another very vanilla two-treer. Thank you. I don't know why I thought of plaid trees. Oh, I do know why I thought of plaid trees. Because our sketch for Thursday, our blog hop sketch, the picture shows plaid trees, and I thought, I could make plaid trees. I could make real live plaid trees. Alright, and there we go with that. And I may have to come back with my, turn it over and give it a good rub. Alrighty, and then, let's see if that's one. No. Alright, and then on the back I'm going to put some more of the plaid. With some more liquid glue on the envelope flap. Because I love plaid. Yes, ma'am, I do. And yes, ma'am, Nyoka, I will be home for Thanksgiving. I will be home for Thanksgiving. I'll go home, I'll fly home the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So that's a good thing. And then I don't think I have to go anywhere again, at least not for any length of time, until the 1st of February. So I'll be home for the whole holidays. All right, give that a good rubbing, and then I'll fussy cut that. I have to tell you, I have not used the Nutcracker paper. It just doesn't appeal to me. I'm not a Nutcracker fan. I actually, they're a little creepy to me. So you'll probably never see a card with the Nutcracker face out. There we go. All right. Thank you, Jean. I appreciate that. And Jacqueline. All right. And so there we have plaid trees out in a peaceful forest. Yes. With a skier shooshing down. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I am so very happy that you joined me tonight. I do love doing these. For next week, I suspect I'll be back in time to do a Sunday night video next week. Possibly not the week after, because that's the day I fly home, but more to follow on that. So hopefully you'll see me next Sunday. I hope you have a lovely week. If you're a demonstrator and you're going to onstage, come by and find me. Love to meet you in person. Night, y'all. Thanks.